let's talk about A Quiet Place Day One. The prequel to A Quiet Place. So we'll go ahead and give our overall thoughts with no spoilers, give it a score, and then go into spoilers after a spoiler warning. Alex, you want to start off on this one?
Yeah, Quiet Place Day One. I enjoyed it a lot, actually. It's kind of more of the same as the other two, but like that's not necessarily a bad thing. I wouldn't even say I liked it more than the other two, but like it was a good prequel spin-off. You know, it had nothing really to do at all with the other two, so it kind of stood on its own, but like it was kind of neat seeing just a different perspective, a different point of view, like a different environment. And also I am a sucker for seeing the like day one, right, the beginning of it. I almost wish they played into that a little more. It seemed like it went into it pretty quickly.
Yeah, it did.
So I was kind of wishing to see kind of more of like I don't know, I kind of liked the sense of doom feeling before like the chaos happens, and we didn't get a lot of that. And it was what we did get was interesting though. But overall I liked it. I thought the acting was good, really good from both the two main characters. Actors, I don't remember their names in real life.
I know it was Lupita Nyong'o, right?
Yes, she's great. And then the other guy is the guy from Stranger Things. He plays Eddie from Stranger Things, yeah. Or
Oh, I didn't even recognize him from that. That's crazy. Yeah. Interesting.
He plays a different character for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But I thought that the acting was good. There were a couple nitpicks I had, but overall I thought it was pretty good. I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's above average. I still think it's solid. It doesn't add anything new to the universe if you're expecting, maybe more lore or anything. Nothing new. But still, it was a good time. I enjoyed it.
I have a pretty similar review. I also gave it a 7 out of 10. It was very enjoyable. There were a lot of like tense scenes. It felt like this one had a little more action than some of the other ones, and really good acting performances. The movie went by really fast. It is kind of a shorter movie. It's like 90 minutes, but I don't think that really detracted from it. I think it was a pretty good length for the story it was trying to tell. And then like all the other movies in this franchise, the sound design just, I feel like elevates it to another level.
It's almost made to be seen in the theater.
Yeah, I definitely have some nitpicks that we'll get into in the spoilers that kind of brought it down a little bit, but overall, a really good movie. They told a succinct... It felt like it was someone who wanted to tell a story in this universe, and they succeeded at that. It was a really interesting story. Like you said, it didn't add anything new. There wasn't like any big revelations or like a new type of monster that really like, I don't know. There wasn't anything super shocking, but they just made a good movie in this universe, which I enjoyed.
Kind of like a cool little like spin-off, but like in the same, it's kind of, I almost wonder if they're gonna just continue kind of just doing different point of views. Continue the main storyline with part 3 and then have like side projects like this where it's just like a random point of, like maybe the next one, it's someone, I don't know, in the woods, just different views. Yeah. That'd be kind of cool. Like kind of like an anthology series, but like in the same universe. I think it made pretty decent money too.
Nice.
I think you're right though. I think the sound design, that's something I didn't mention, is top notch. I mean, every little thing, like it has to be with this kind of movie, I guess.
Yeah, it like makes me hold my breath and like, I can't make any noise. Like it really puts you in it.
And you could hear all the little sounds, like the raindrops, like every little sound.
All the characters react and you react like, what was that? Yeah, they do a really good job of building the tension just with the sound.
Yeah, and I'll say if you like cats, you might like this movie.
I liked the cat parts. Yes, I'll talk about that in the spoilers.
If you don't like cats, then you might not care for this movie. That's the third main character, man.
Yeah, true.
But no, we can get in spoilers. But yeah, I would recommend to go watch it. I thought it was excellent. If you like the other two, you'll like this one.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to judge if you want to go see this. If you enjoyed the other ones, like you said, this is pretty much more of the same, and it's a good product. So yeah.
Yeah, sweet. Let's get into the spoilers.
Yeah. So spoiler alert for A Quiet Place Day One.
So, your cat, that was your favorite character, huh?
Oh, I love Frodo. He was my favorite character. But every time the cat was on screen, I thought two things. One, if this cat dies, I'm going to be very sad and annoyed. And two, if I were in this position with one of my cats, I would be dead so fast.
That was a quiet cat.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's like a service animal, right? So it makes sense. It's more well-behaved, I guess. But still, I mean, cats are going to make noise. So it was a very well-behaved cat.
I don't know how I feel about the cats. I mean, I like the cat because, I like cats too, and
Yeah.
like the cat didn't do anything to annoy me, but there's some scenes where the cat added to the tension, and there are other scenes where I kind of knew they wouldn't kill the cat.
Yeah, after a certain point, I was like, okay, the cat's gonna make it. Yeah.
And so, like, it kind of, like, used some of the tension. Like, for example, there's that scene where the Stranger Things guy, you know, he goes off to get the medicine. And I like the scene, and this is another thing I want to hit on, but it's a different topic. But he goes into that lair thing of the monsters.
Yeah.
Like, to get the cat, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the cat, to be honest. Like, I don't hate the cat, but, like, to me, like, the cat, they focused a lot on the cat.
Yeah, they did. And a lot of it's like something kicks off and the cat runs away, and then later on the cat just comes back, or he goes and gets it, which every other time the cat's run away, it's come back fine. I was like, dude, just leave the cat. It's fine. You don't have to go get it.
That's true. The cat always runs away and just finds their way back. So, like, the cat, I have no feelings towards the cat. But I feel like the cat could annoy some people.
Yeah, I could see that, especially if you're not a cat person. And I just realized that if you consider the cat a main character, 2 of the main characters are Sam and Frodo in this movie.
That's funny.
Lupita's character is Samira, and her nickname is Sam, and then the cat's Frodo.
Oh, they definitely did that on purpose, right? She's like some Lord of the Rings fan or something. Speaking of what, this is kind of off topic, but since we're on the topic of that lair thing, what was up with that scene? I didn't understand that. Was that their food, their eggs? What were they doing? It looked like they were eating it.
I couldn't tell. There was that one really big one. I wonder if that's like the queen, and it was like... It did, when I first saw it, it looked like an egg, but then they started eating it, so...
Yeah, they started eating it, yeah. And I thought that was going to go somewhere, but it was never brought up or nothing ever with that.
Yeah, I feel like they could have added a lot of new lore with that, but they kind of just skipped over it and left me wondering, like, yeah, what is that about?
Yeah, because I was thinking, like, oh, they're planting eggs, so this is how they're going to, like, go across the country and take over, or I don't know, like you said, maybe there's, like, the queens here, like, the big bad... like some type of one we haven't seen yet, and it literally did not. He didn't even bring that place up to Sam.
True.
Like literally, it was 5 minutes of that, and then never ever brought up or seen again. That was odd to me.
They're setting that up for the next movie, just like introducing it, and then that'll be
maybe
a big part of the next one. I don't know.
I liked it, but it was odd to me. Like, it kind of, I don't know.
Some of the shots in this movie were really well done, like from a cinematography standpoint. Like, the 2 that stand out that I made notes on were the scenes in the all-glass building. Like, there were some really wide shots, like especially when the monsters are coming, or the like overhead shot while she's walking in. You could, like, feel the
scale.
Yeah. And then the other one is when she's wading through the crowd going the wrong way. And man, every time there's crowds in this movie, I'm like, oh, this is bad. This is bad. This is not going to end well.
I mean, they're like rolling suitcases and like just the footsteps in itself. I'm like, I would not be in that. And she sent the kids with the crowd too.
Yeah, they probably didn't make it.
But the one thing I'll give, so I thought the monsters looked good. You know, they almost just kind of remind me of like Demogorgons from Stranger Things.
They did, yeah.
But I thought the monsters looked good. I thought they were scary. Like, every scene with the monsters, I thought were intense, and they were good.
Yeah. I always forget how fast those things are.
Yeah. Oh, they muck you out quick.
They're so fast.
The ending almost reminded me of part 1's, the very first A Quiet Place. It kind of had similar scenes. Like, even, so her, at the very beginning, she had her nurse dude, right, that went with her.
Yep.
Which I guess we could talk about the plot before I get into that. So before all the monsters come, she has, cancer, right? Terminal cancer?
She's in hospice, so she's dying, yep.
Yes. And I will say, this one is definitely more artsy-fartsy than the other 2.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, not in a bad way. It's just definitely more artsy-fartsy. Like, it felt more like, I don't want to explain it. It felt more like a
independent film kind of thing.
Yeah, like an independent film, yeah. Yeah, but mixed with like big budget. But I thought those scenes are good. And if she wanted, so the dude was like, or what were you going to say before I go on?
I have a question for you, but we can talk about it after I guess we can talk about it now. How did you feel about her being terminally ill, like that she knows she's gonna die soon? Like, did that change anything for you about how you felt about it?
No, I liked it personally. I could see how someone doesn't like it because you can know how it's gonna end, kind of.
Yeah,
like it's
that's kind of how I feel. It wasn't make or break, but it was like, yeah, I kind of know where this is going.
Which I get that. I totally get that. But like the journey itself, I always find it interesting when you have someone that knows they're gonna die. You know, like I guess the journey is kind of unpredictable. You know where it's gonna end, but
that's true. It did allow for a lot more great acting scenes, like with her talking about it with Eric and just like her trying to come to terms with it and thinking about her dad, and like it allowed for some of those really good acting scenes. So I go both ways on it. It's like it kind of lets up on the tension a little bit because I have a feeling she's going to die anyways, but it does also allow for good scenes. So
I agree. I can definitely see that side. And even also, it does slow down the movie a little bit, just in the sense of like, she's terminally ill, so she can't be moving fast. She needs her medicine. So it does slow down the movie. But like, I didn't mind it. I think I didn't mind it because I just thought the performances were so good between those two, between Eric and Sam. I thought they played it great. And it wasn't even like a romantic type.
Yeah, I like that more.
I do too. Like it was just two humans like trying to get through together. I didn't mind it, and especially at the beginning I kind of found it interesting. Like, they want to go into town, so her nurse is asking her, hey, come into town with us, we're going to see a show. When's the last time you've been into town, into New York City? And then she said she wanted to stop for pizza, which I knew that was going to be the whole thing, the whole movie. Right? Like, she wants that dang pizza.
She really wants that pizza.
I will say that scene though, when she does get the pizza and stuff with Eric, great scene. Like, I think they nailed it. But anyways, so they get her to go, and then they see some puppet show. And this is kind of where I felt the artsy fartsiness, like the puppet stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And then they had she brought her cat. Of course, we got to talk about the cat. It's her little service cat, which he was being super loud at the beginning, and she told him to shut up. And then he was quiet the rest of the movie. So he obeyed.
Yep, that's impressive to get a cat to do that.
Yeah, I was waiting for that cat to meow during the apocalypse part, but no, never. Not once.
Never. Yep.
In water, submerged in water.
I know. I was like, if a cat gets jumped in a river like that, it's gonna freak out. I was like, I don't know if that's believable.
Even in like the tunnels when they're in the water, that scene.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she grabs the cat, they go, and then the other part I thought was kind of weird was like, they meet the characters, right? The boy sees the cat, then the dad is like, oh, leave them alone. And so they're like kind of a couple of characters introduced right there, like a father and a son. And I thought they're going to play a bigger role, but they didn't.
Yeah, they were just there in that scene, and then at the very end, because when I saw that, like, I like that actor. I think he's a pretty good actor. I was like, oh, okay, so she's going to like group up with these guys? Nope, you just don't see him for an hour.
They do see him when it first starts. Remember, the dude accidentally kills him
on the rooftop. Yeah,
on the roof. But that's it. Like the first 20 minutes, and then like I thought they're gonna be like traveling. Like they introduced. I almost wonder if there's like cut scenes with them or something. But because they made it a point, right? Like they didn't necessarily need to make it a point if they weren't going to be this important to the story. I don't know.
Yeah, and like I feel like they were setting up something with like that guy having regret for having to kill that guy to save them because he was shouting, and like so I was ready. I was like, oh, he's gonna have to come to terms with it, and he did it in front of his kid, and how's that gonna affect the kid? Nope, that's just not in there at
Seriously, like, and that would have been a good storyline, right? It's like the beginning of the apocalypse. It's like, oh my god, like I accidentally killed this dude, but he would have killed us all, and my son saw it. Like, so I thought he was gonna travel with Sam, and there's gonna be this tension with all that, and nothing.
Same.
Even at the end, nothing.
Yeah, you just kind of see him and he helps him into the boat.
Yeah, that was odd to me. Like, I don't know. It was odd to me. She was alone a lot of the time. Well, until Eric comes like halfway through the movie, and she found some random kids and stuff. But I really thought they were going to be traveling with her or something. But like that scene was good, and then of course they go out to the bus, and I actually thought it was going to play out longer until the asteroids hit or whatever. Now I thought it was going to go another 10-15 minutes, but man, they just went into it right then and there after that puppet show, and it was a great scene. Like I love the chaos and the scariness and the with the ash and dust everywhere, and
it turned from like horror thriller into a disaster movie, and it was pretty seamless. Like, I mean, I was expecting like horror thriller, but I mean, they did a really good job with that disaster movie feel. Yeah,
and again, like the noises, like you could see before she walks out of that puppet show, it's quiet, and the second she opens that door, just you could, they obviously are playing off the sound, so you could hear every little sound, loud chaos. And then at the beginning of the movie, they have little text saying that, oh, New York produces 90 decimals of blah 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 blah.
Basically the level of constant screaming.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible.
That just sounds horrible. Well, like so you enjoyed, like, 'cause that's like a big scene, right? Like if you screw up that kind of scene where it starts the monsters, or it starts the apocalypse in a sense. Like, how did you feel overall with that scene? Do you think it could have been better? Do you think they could have waited a little longer? Do you think there would have been more tension?
I liked it. I think I had some thoughts on what it was going to be like coming in, and I feel like it might have made it better. So when it starts, it's a really good scene. Like, you see all the destruction, but my problem with it is then she gets knocked out.
Yeah.
And then she wakes up, and then everybody knows about, like, oh, they hunt by hearing. I was kind of expecting, like, you're going to see people screw up. You're going to see people figuring it out. You're going to, like, learn.
Yeah.
You're going to see them learning. But we didn't see any of that. It was just like, boom, she's out. Boom, she's up. Oh, she knows she has to be really quiet.
That's my issue, too. Number one, I hate scenes where they knock you out of the action. I feel like it's a cop-out, personally.
Yeah, especially for such an important event. Like,
Yes.
this is what kicks off the whole series.
I hate when movies and shows do that because, like, it almost diminishes the tension because you go from the chaos and all of a sudden you're safe in the little church. So I did not like that either. I like the actual scene, but then when they knock her out, I'm like, oh, come on, don't do the knockout.
Yeah.
And then I agree with you. That was probably one of my biggest issues is how did, like, they knew instantly about the sound. You're not going to know, like, New York is chaos with sound. How are you going to figure out they follow sound? There's sound everywhere.
I feel like it would have taken long. I mean, we don't know how long she was knocked out, really. I guess it was
I mean, it
nighttime,
had to have been just
but-
hours, right? Not like, it wasn't days or anything.
No,
'Cause,
it
like-
definitely wasn't days. Yeah. It was like from either morning or afternoon to nighttime.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like the whole city wouldn't have figured it out by then.
No,
But I don't
they
know.
would not have figured it out by then. Like, I don't know. But then they had the helicopters going by. They do follow sounds or whatever, the military helicopter stuff. So even they figured it out somehow.
Yeah.
Did they? Maybe there's gonna be more lore to it. Maybe they've like seen this coming, and maybe there's. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be. It could be explained later, but for
Yeah.
now,
like,
it's
how
like,
did the military know already? The military wasn't even. Well, I guess they were there. But like, how did they know so quickly? Like, it's almost like they. I don't know. There has to be more to it.
Okay, yeah, so, like, I mean, they could have had, like, satellites pick them up coming in and then track where they're going to land or something. Like, you could explain it
Yeah.
for sure, but,
Yeah.
you know, we didn't get that
Yeah.
explanation in this movie, which is fine, you know. I don't think that's that big of
I
a
mean,
deal.
it could go
but-
even more sci-fi and be like, there's already been some on the planet they've been studying,
yeah.
and like they know. I don't know. That's like, you know, they might not get that cheesy sci-fi, but I'm just saying. I guess there's a way to explain it. But
After, like, 5 or 6 more movies, I feel like they could branch out into more sci-fi.
that's what they're gonna start. They're gonna do like a whole one in space, watch be like an
Yeah.
alien movie. But no, that was probably one of my biggest criticisms. Is I agree with you. It would have been very interesting seeing these. I mean, I guess the movie would have been very quick. Well, maybe they did. Maybe you could figure it out that quick. Maybe people that are screaming were the ones getting attacked, and the ones hiding were like.
It's true, survival
not
of the
getting attacked.
fittest.
So maybe they're like, you know what? Maybe if I don't make noise. But that would be more speculation, though. It wouldn't be like a certain thing, right? It'd be like, okay, I'm just
Right.
not going to make
Yeah,
noise
everybody
because
was, like, totally sure.
yeah,
that
and they
that's
were
what
like
it was.
sure they couldn't see like instantly. Like, oh, it's okay. We could just walk
I know.
out.
The first time they saw one, I was like, "Oh, I would turn off the flashlight." You don't know that
Yes.
they can't see light.
Yes.
Like,
Oh, 100% I would have. I was like, why'd you turn off the flashlight? How do you know? But
Yeah.
I guess I guess by then the military people are saying that, but
yeah, I think they were only saying they hunt by sound, but that doesn't necessarily mean they don't just
That's
have
true.
really bad vision or something. But yeah,
or any vision at all. Yeah.
yeah,
And that's true. So yeah, so she wakes up, and we kind of forgot to keep talking about the nurse dude. I actually liked his character, the one kind of taking care of him or her. He seemed like a good dude, and I expected him to last a little longer. I expected
Yeah.
him to die, but I don't know, not like that quick. But
yeah.
it,
I
kind of
agree.
reminded me of with part one. It reminded me of when the boy dies.
Yeah, I agree. It was very sudden like that.
Yeah, and just sweeping him away, kind of.
Hmm.
Kind of to harp back on what you were saying. I was upset with her getting knocked out because I expected to kind of them play around with the New York noises a little more.
It would have been cool to like hear the city start quieting down or like
Yes.
notice it. I don't know. I feel like they could have done some cool artsy stuff with that
Like
too.
just yeah, like little scenes of like people in an office like trying to run or hide, or it's like New York. You have like all these high rises and buildings and people.
Yep.
I don't know. So like the knocking out, like I said, it just kind of cheapened it a little bit. But yeah, then you get that scene where the power goes out, generator turns on, and her little nurse friend dies. They were gonna go get pizza together, and now it's just her. And then you had I guess then you had the other people, the dad with his son,
Yep.
and that was a good scene though, seeing like the military kind of take out the bridges. That kind of looked
Yeah, when the helicopters fly by and you just hear all the monsters like whooshing by the door, I thought that was
it's like a
really
herd,
cool
like
idea.
that was cool. Yeah, it reminded me of just like some one big herd, or even seeing them like all climbing on all the buildings and like running
Yeah.
towards them. Yeah, then one of the dudes goes crazy. They're like, "We're all gonna die anyways," and that's when the father kills the dude while his son was looking, and he felt bad. And I thought that was gonna go places, and it didn't even matter.
Yep.
There has to be cut scenes, right? Or otherwise, what was the point of that?
I agree, there probably was. Either that or they're setting him up as a main character in some other spin-off or something. I don't know.
They could have Eric and him kind of be actually that would kind of be an interesting thing, because we haven't. Well, I guess we kind of saw it in part 2, but you could see them start to rebuild like a town that they feel safe in, and maybe they're kind of main character. That'd be cool. I'd be up for that. But or they were going to do a different direction and focus on like multiple groups, like them and then her, and they just changed their mind. I don't know.
I could see that too.
But yeah, then after that she goes off on her own, and that's kind of when her little journey starts. And a lot of the middle movie is just, she finds like a fountain, right, to eat or something. Oh no, first she goes to the convenience store, right, and gets a flashlight and all that crap.
Cat food, flashlight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then she goes to the fountain and she sees 2 kids just like huddling under the fountain. She goes over and gets them and brings them to relative safety, I guess. Yeah, they kind of travel, monsters, attention, all that stuff, and they find the crowd. And of course, I like the look of that scene, like you said. It's her kind of going in different directions to the crowd. And there was, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. You know what it felt like? I feel like there's a very similar shot in Dune Part 2 where he's in the crowd and you see it part.
Oh, yep.
And it kind of goes overhead shot. I feel like it was similar to that. Really cool shot.
Yeah, it was an awesome shot. And then, you can see her staring at, like, there's a guy in a wheelchair. This wheelchair's making a noise. There's a suitcase is making a noise.
Backpack. Yeah, a suitcase.
And you kind of see, like, a monster out in the distance. And boom, everything hits the fan.
So fast. Yeah.
Yeah, instantly. She loses her cap. She hides under the car. There's some tension with the car. She escapes the car.
Yeah,
it's all good stuff.
Pretty claustrophobic. That was a pretty tense scene because she's like under it and the tire's deflating and she's just getting stuck, and I was like, "Oy, that's not good."
And then, like, even if you get out, there's like freaking monsters out there that can attack you.
Yeah, out of the frying pan into the fire. Yeah.
So then that happens, and she finds an alleyway. She lost her cat, and then it just randomly switches to Eric. Just randomly. It was kind of weird. It was kind of jarring. Like, we're 30 minutes into the movie, 40 minutes in the movie. And then, like,
and I was like, he just like pops up from the water, and I'm like, what was he doing? Where? I mean, I'm looking at the summary, and it says he escaped a flooded subway, which, I mean, he does pop up out of a subway station.
Why didn't they show any of that though?
I don't know.
I really do wonder if they meant to like follow 3 different storylines and it all connects.
I think the point of showing him coming out of the water is because later there's another part where they have to go underwater and he kind of freezes up. So it kind of shows, because he's like in shock after coming out of that subway, and then grabs on to latches on to Sam, even though she's not trying to get to safety, because she's like the only thing in the world that seems normal.
No, he's like the lost puppy kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then the cat finds him, and the cat leads him to Sam. Because then the rest of the movie are kind of following them, which I loved their scenes. I mean, I almost wish we saw Eric from the beginning, just like kind of his point of view too, and like slowly saw them meet up. The stories kind of interconnect.
Yeah, I feel like they could, if they do have those scenes, put out like an extended edition, like Lord of the Rings extended edition.
Yeah, like it feels like they had. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe it's more artsy fartsy than I thought. But I feel like there should be scenes of Sam and her stuff like we saw, and maybe it cuts away, and maybe Eric had all of his scenes in the subway, and it starts flooding and all that. And you see the father and them kind of traveling to the boat, and it all sort of connects. But yeah, it didn't play out like that, which is fine. I don't know.
Yeah, if they didn't shoot those scenes, I think it was just they knew what story they wanted to tell and just stuck with it.
Yeah.
So
and Eric was a great character. He kind of, like you said, deals with like anxiety almost a little bit.
Yeah, and PTSD, trauma. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So all their scenes are great. I mean, when she first told him she's gonna go get pizza, he's like, "What?"
Yeah, which that's an appropriate reaction in an apocalypse. Yeah,
like I love their scenes. Like they go back to her old apartment, or I think it is.
And reminisce about her dad, his parents, and his life.
Again, the acting was top
so
notch.
Good.
They were both were great, and even the storm was happening, and the thunder was going off and they would scream to
Yeah.
relieve some tension. Like everything about that was great.
All of these movies, like, they get such good actors that can do so much acting without saying a single word. Like, you can just see on their face exactly how their characters are feeling, and I feel like that's really hard to do without, like,
for sure.
being able to make any noise.
Yeah, like seriously, like they're hardly can even talk in the movie.
And when they do talk, it's really good dialogue that really tells you a lot about their backstory.
Yeah, so I really liked all their stuff. And, you know, after that, they travel to go get pizza and have to go into the subway, like the flooded subway, which again was a good scene. Tension, super scared, creepy, like the Demogorgon thing crawling on the ceiling, chasing them.
Yeah, that was a cool shot.
And then, of course, she's sick, right? So then they have to go on a little side mission to get her some medicine.
Get that fentanyl.
Yeah, we got the side mission, man. You always got to have, it's like video game.
Yep.
And you kind of follow, and I like those scenes too. Of course, the cat shows up and freaks him out while he's finding the medicine. And
When he's trying to get the cat back, there's like one jump scare that I was not expecting. He's like on his way to get the cat over the beam, and then that big one just like pops up right beside him. I was like, oh shoot. that was
the one time it got me too. I was not expecting that. And again, we've talked about that scene. Super cool scene, but like, I don't know. It just wasn't like, I just thought there was going to be more of it. It was super interesting. And like we talked about before, I thought it was like eggs and like they're like, but then they were eating it. So like, what the heck were they eating? What were those things? Do they eat their offspring? Or I don't understand.
Or can the queen only make food that they can eat? So they have to like go back to the queen to eat or something? Or if that is the queen, that's an assumption.
It looked like a lair, didn't it? Like,
yeah, it did for sure.
Like with eggs planted everywhere, and then like when they started eating, I'm like, wait a second, what are they eating? What is this? And that's never explained.
Very weird.
I really do wonder if there are going to be more movies or shows or something. You know, I feel like this universe would make a good TV show, like on HBO or something.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know.
I feel like they could do something with Eric where he's like the only one who knows about that place, and so he becomes important on finding it. He finds someone that's like looking for it. They like figure out there's a queen and they're trying to find it, and he has to like lead them there or something like that.
Yeah, true, because he's the only one who's seen it, or a living person that's seen it. Or we're thinking too much and we're hoping too much, and it's just going to be nothing.
Yeah, that could be too, for sure.
But he brings the medicine back, and then they finally make it to the pizza place. It's burnt down.
A semi crashed into it.
And again, I liked how they sat next to the fire and, you know, in the sewage, so like, you know, kind of near noise, so they could weep a little bit. Little things like that I really like. And then they found a bar nearby. Eric's like, where did your dad play piano?
So they go to that jazz club.
And that scene was probably my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, that was a really good scene.
I loved it. It felt just like human. Like you said, there's no like romantic tension or anything. It's just two good people just trying to be normal.
Trying to feel normal in this crazy situation. Yep.
Yeah. Because he finds a pizza, brings it there, and then they drink a little bit.
I think so he went and got pizza from a different pizzeria, and I think he put it in the box of the pizzeria that she always gets it from. And there was a part where she takes a bite and then like looks like, I couldn't tell if it was like, this is gross after a few days, or this isn't pizza from Patsy's, but like you could tell she was like, this is different.
Yeah, like it looked like she's like, this is all right.
Yeah, not as good as I remember or something. Yeah.
I really like that scene. Then they had a couple drinks, and then, you know, he's like come up on stage, and that whole scene was
did the magic trick, and it's like the first time she's smiled since the apocalypse started. That was a really cool moment.
It's obviously have to be quiet, but like just the Stranger Things guy, he just had that charisma, and you know, that was just a great scene. I love that scene, just like a very human scene.
Definitely.
Then after that, we're pretty much at the end, right?
I feel like the ending was really quick. Like, I was not expecting it. It just, I don't know.
Was expecting
the ending
that
part was so fast.
I thought it was, I don't know. I thought they're going to have to like sneak around a lot more, like go through like, okay, we got to go through these 3 buildings and get here.
I almost felt like when they were watching the boat from so they see the boats on the river with the survivors.
You think
and they were watching it. Yeah, I was like, I wonder if the aliens are going to find a way onto it. It's going to sink, and then they're going to have to figure out some other thing, because it like lingered on that shot for a long time. And I was like, oh, something bad's bad's gonna happen. But
yeah,
it
because you
didn't.
can see all the aliens like right at the edge of the water, like trying to figure
Yep.
her out.
I was like,
I
are
thought
they
the
going to
same
get too
thing.
close to the bridge and they're going to be able to jump on? Like, definitely had a foreboding feeling there.
Kind of like we mentioned at the beginning of the review. Definitely very predictable, because obviously we were trying to make it not predictable.
Because that's the norm, is the people making the movies are trying to, like, subvert expectations.
So I guess they subvert our expectations by not
By
subverting our
not, yeah.
expectations.
I mean, that does kind of work, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it does.
It's like the anti-meta when you're expecting something and then they just don't do it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The ending, they have to make it there, and they're in the middle of all these cars, and it's what Sam's like, you take the cat, you go. She makes all this noise, and then they have a little run where Eric has to run off the dock into the water because the aliens can't swim.
Yep, and she's like
And-
smashing cars, making as much noise as she can, drawing them away.
And they still don't get drawn away, so he's kind of running on the dock, which good, like, intense scene. It's good.
Yeah.
I actually wasn't sure if he would make it or not. That was one thing where I'm like, I wonder if they kill him off. Maybe I was, again.
Yeah,
think
something
I was-
bad has to happen here that we don't expect.
Yeah, and like it did. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's it. And then they meet up with the father and the son again. Well, I guess for the first time he does, but the cat meets up with them again. And the cat lives. That's all that matters, right?
Yes, the cat lives. And there were two pretty cathartic scenes at the end there. So one of them, he finds a letter in his pocket from Sam, and she like told him, you better take care of the cat, and he like is feeling sad about her not being there. And I thought that was a good scene showing their connection.
He has her
they made.
sweatshirt.
Yep,
Or her whatever sweater, whatever it was. Cardigan, I don't
I think it was a cardigan. Sure.
know. Yeah.
And then the last scene of the movie, unless I'm forgetting a scene, but Sam is listening to a song with headphones in a stereo, and she's just walking down a street, and she's ready for it to be over, and she just unplugs her headphones and lets it play. And I love that last part where you just see the alien drop down super fast and then cut to black. Like, yeah, that's a good ending.
Yeah, that's a good ending. That's honestly, it's how it should end. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like, it's real, right? Like, she has cancer. She knows she's not going to live. She's not going to always have this medicine. She's getting weaker. Like she said, she was told she'd only have 2 years. It's been 3 years, and 6 months. It's been 10 months, whatever. It's like, that's how it should have ended.
I don't know what other way it could have ended. Yeah. It's not like she was going to get to the boat and they'd find a miracle cure for cancer during the apocalypse or something.
So, like, I do get what you mean when you say it kind of made the movie less intense because you know how it's probably going to end. So I do get that.
Yeah.
But it played such a big part of the story.
There's also so much other tension in it. I mean, there's other characters that aren't on their deathbed. There's the cat. There's the sounds building the tension. I think it wasn't really that big of a deal. It was just something I noticed. Like, yeah, I kind of know that she's gonna die. I mean, I know that she's gonna die. So it's just about when and where.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. Like, maybe I'm also a sucker for like sci-fi, and also like, this is kind of like a thriller. It's not even a horror movie. I feel it's more a thriller.
Yeah, I agree.
I enjoyed it. I like this universe. I like the concept. I hope in the next one they dig more into the lore. Maybe with part 3.
Yeah, I would like that. I'm trying to remember part 2. I feel like they were starting to learn a little bit more about it with like the radios and stuff about them. So
Yeah.
I hope they kind of keep going with that, learning more about them, their weaknesses, maybe even why they're here or what they're trying to do. I would definitely like to learn more about that.
Because it's like getting farther into it, right? So they probably, maybe they start, getting into some bunkers or government bunkers, or, I mean, like you said, they kind of, I really liked part 2. I need to rewatch it again.
Yeah, I haven't watched either of the first 2 in a while. I liked them both a lot, though, from what I remember.
And part 1, great too. Like, part 1 subverted my expectations. Like, I didn't, spoiler if you didn't watch part 1 or part 2, don't listen to this part. I didn't expect Homeboy to die in part 1.
I know, yeah.
Like, that subverted my expectations. I wasn't expecting that. And then, like, even in part
Same.
1 with the birth scene, when she's like giving birth.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, part 1 was great. So I still think I prefer those two, but like as like a side movie, like I think this is perfect.
Really cool story in the universe, which I feel like we don't get that often. Like, just a totally separate story in a known universe.
I mean, you have like the Cloverfield movies, but those are kind of like not great.
Yeah, true. One thing that I was going to say before, but I forgot to mention was it did seem like this movie was, because in part 2 we do see the start of it, right? We see a flashback to like the baseball
At the
scene.
very beginning, yep.
Yeah, and I feel like they were like, what if we did that, but in a giant city? And that was like the basis of the movie. And I kind of like that. Like, what if we take this idea that we've already done and put it in a different setting and see how it goes. That's a cool idea
It's like
for
Order
a little
66,
spin-off.
just seeing different point of views.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a million points of views of that.
Yeah. I will say, actually, you remind me of that. That was in part 2, the very first scene. And I almost think that opening was better than the start of this one.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, it was in that small, small USA town, and they didn't black out.
Yeah, and it had some cool shots of just
Like them
long
driving.
shots of just following him. Yeah, and just looking behind him and seeing the destruction. And yeah, that was a really good opening scene.
Yeah, but oh well, it's still good. Good movie.
Yeah, still good for sure.